This is a recording of how to deliver the What Makes QlikView Unique presentation. My name is Erica Driver, Senior Director of Global Product Marketing. I'm going to walk through this, and you'll see there are some points in the presentation where I have a slide that would be more appropriate for partners and another slide that would be more appropriate for customers. You can pick and choose which pieces of this are best suited for your particular presentation. So this question about what makes QlikView unique is very important for us to be able to answer succinctly and clearly now, because it's a very complicated market that we're in. The BI software market, or business analytics, depending on which analyst firm you talk to, is a very large market, $12 billion software market in 2011. And it's crowded with hundreds of vendors that offer all kinds of pieces of the whole picture. If you look at the ends of the reports coming out of Gartner and Aberdeen, for example, there are literally hundreds of vendors named. Another big trend that's making it difficult for, or important for, vendors like QlikTech to be able to clearly describe our differentiators is the split that's taking place in the market, where you have traditional BI on the one hand and the new user-centric BI on the other hand. Gartner calls this data discovery, Aberdeen calls it visual discovery, and of course we call it business discovery to reflect who uses the software and the value that our customers get out of it. Our mission statement as a company is simplifying decisions for everyone, everywhere. So with this in mind, I'll describe some of the differences between traditional BI and business discovery, and then I'll give an analogy that I use when trying to help people understand what that difference really is. With traditional BI, it tends to be a report-centric architecture. It tends to be owned and managed by IT, which is responsible not only for preparing the data and data governance, but also building out all the analysis that users think they're going to need. And so here we have a concept of an end user, which is literally at the end of the road, given a static report or pre-configured dashboard, and that's it. And in this kind of an organization, there's a very small funnel of people who have the skills and tools needed to be able to generate insights from data. But in the new world of business discovery, and you'll see that this version of the slide is for customers because you've got IT here in the middle, but I'll flip to the next slide for just a moment. This next version is for OEMs, where it's not IT in the middle, it's really the product development organization. So going back to the previous slide here to continue the story. So with business discovery, it's a very different environment. In this environment, the role of IT is to empower business communities with self-service. It's an age of empowerment where people are used to doing everything from creating books and videos and websites and creating apps. So IT in this environment is of course responsible for data preparation and governance and for making sure that the system is high performance and reliable and secure. But now instead of creating the analytics themselves, the business communities are doing this. And the business users have access to apps that they can use to ask and answer whatever stream of questions come to mind. And they can do this on their own or in teams and groups in a collaborative way. So what's driving this change? What's driving it is the empowered nature of being a consumer today. It's what happens when you and I go home in the evening, and that experience that we've become accustomed to having because of the beautiful, highly effective devices like the iPhone and iPad. We're expecting to be able to go to a nice, clean, white user interface and type in a few words and get the right answer. We expect to be able to read reviews and ask questions and get answers and to communicate and collaborate with others online. We've become accustomed to this concept of apps, which are task-specific, purpose-built software applications we can acquire easily, install ourselves. We don't have to go to training classes for a week to learn how to use them. We use them, we get our problem solved, and when we're done, we can set it aside. And lastly, we expect to be able to do these things anywhere from our mobile devices. So given this transformation, this empowerment, we are a technology provider that offers a business discovery platform. And by business discovery, we really mean 5 things. We're talking about insight everywhere for everyone in the organization. Here, it's not just a small funnel of people who have the tools and skills needed to create insight from data, it's everyone. And we're talking about apps that can solve rather traditional BI kinds of needs, like sales analysis and financial analysis, down to very simple types of problems. So for example, I'm one of half dozen to a dozen people who blog on the QlikView blogs, and we have to keep track of our calendar and pipeline. So we have a QlikView app. We maintain it to be able to quickly and easily to slice and dice by author or blog, or to see where there might be holes in the publication schedule. So that's something that you wouldn't think of as BI, but it's something that really points to our insight everywhere mantra. Secondly, it's about an app model. We're talking about this ability for business user communities to create apps and to have an app that is addressing a particular purpose, and not to try to boil the ocean by having one huge monolithic enterprise application that attempts to solve everything. It's a much more agile model. When we're talking about remixability and reassembly, we're talking again about business users' ability to modify applications. So the business user, without technical expertise, right there in the browser can bring in additional charts and objects, can modify the properties of those objects, create new sheets, start shared sessions with others, can modify apps together. Users with more technical skill can bring in additional data sources, can create entirely new applications using the Windows client. So QlikView enables this remixability and reassembly, all the while preserving the integrity of the data on the back end. Business discovery platforms are social and collaborative. This is really, really important because you can't separate collaboration from decision making. We don't just sit by ourselves and look at the computer and make a decision, usually. We talk to other people. People have opinions and questions and persuasion, and it's very important for the software to support this. And lastly, mobility, the ability to test hypotheses while you're on the road, to make decisions while you're out on location. These are the 5 tenets of business discovery. So there's an analogy that I like to use to describe the difference between business discovery and traditional BI. And as you're listening to this, of course, you're welcome to use it yourself if it rings true, but also think about analogies that you might be able to create to help make it your own. I've heard some great analogies that people have created walking in the woods. I've heard some transportation related analogies. What I'll share with you is a music discovery analogy. So here's how it goes. I'm the kind of person who likes to discover new music all the time and hear about the new bands. And the way I usually do this is driving in my car, and it's always been the case. I'll be driving along and listening to the radio. 20 years ago, the radio looked something like this, and I'll hear a song that I love and hope that at the end of the set, the DJ would the DJ would say the name of the artist or the band, and usually they didn't, and I'd have to wait till I heard it again on the radio some other time. But if I was lucky and they mentioned who it was, and I had a pad of paper or napkin or something on the seat next to me, I could scribble down some notes. And then when I had a collection of these, I could pull my spare change together and head down to my local CD store for some music discovery. So in my case, I lived in the Boston area, and I would head down to Tower Records, which opened in the early 90s, huge record store. For those of you who are doing this presentation where there isn't a Tower Records, there's a generic retail store image in the deck here, and you can use that and just describe wherever it might be that you would go to purchase music. So here I would begin my hierarchical drill down process. I would go up to the second floor where the music category was, and then I would try to find the first CD on my list. So I would first have to think, oh, is this pop? Is it rock? Is it alternative? Well, let's just try rock. I'd head down the rock to the rock section and then start walking down an alphabetically organized aisle looking for the artist. If I found the artist, then I'd start flipping through CDs to try to find the title. If I didn't find it, then maybe I would try another genre, like pop. If I still didn't find it, then heaven forbid I would have to head over to the customer service desk and ask for some help. So that's the old way. It really wasn't oriented around me as the shopper, and certainly did not enable me to find something easily that I wasn't looking for. So today it's very different. So today I have satellite radio in my car, and I have access to hundreds of channels. I can listen to any kind of music I want, and it says right there on my radio who the artist is, what the band is. If I really like a song, I can grab my iPhone and hit the button on my SoundHound app or Shazam, some kind of music recognition app, wait for a minute, and then all the metadata I could ever want about that song is stored there in my phone for me. And if I wanted to, I could buy it right then and there from iTunes. Or I could save these up and then head home one evening for an evening of music exploration. I can put on my headphones, pour a glass of wine, and just start to search around. So I could search for band name, keyword, whatever I want. I can listen to clips. I can see what the most popular downloads are and what other people are listening to. I get recommendations of other bands like this band. And what happens is I can start anywhere and go anywhere, and I end up following this path that I wouldn't have anticipated up front. And by the end of my exploration, I may have 10 new songs in my iTunes that by bands I'd never heard of. So this is discovery, and this is analogous to business discovery compared to the old way of BI, which is kind of like going into the music store. And so, within 15 years of opening, my beloved Tower Records in Harvard Square in Cambridge has gone away. And this, if you're in an area where there is no Tower Records, you can always use this image, and I have it set to shrink away when you talk about this. And it's not just the music industry that's going through this transformation. This is a picture I took in my living room last fall as my husband and I were sitting around realizing how many books we had. The bookshelves were caving in, and we both realized we hadn't purchased a paper book in months. So we packed up hundreds of them and took them down to our local library. I still buy books, but I buy them on my iPad. It's a completely different experience to read books on an iPad. I can annotate, I can look up words right then and there. I have dozens of books there at the same time. In fact, recently I was reading a paper book that someone lent me, and I actually touched the page to try to create an annotation. It was this wake-up moment to realize how prevalent how my expectations have changed based on this technology that has a very user-centric experience. So if you think about these industries, software, music, books, there's a huge change affecting all of these industries, driven by what some people call consumerization of technology, but I think of more as empowerment. So coming back to business discovery now, final thought I want to leave you with on this is that business discovery, in contrast to traditional BI, it's not just for the data pros. So here on the left we have a professional football player, and on the right we have kids. QlikView, it can be used for the kids. It's business discovery is for everyone. It enables self-service BI, and for anyone in an organization who has a need to be able to visualize data and see connections and associations in that data, enables them to do that. So now coming down to QlikView and what makes QlikView unique now that you have a clear understanding of how business discovery is different from traditional BI. It's the sum of three things that makes QlikView unique. It's each of these together. The first one is an associative, collaborative user experience. The second one is the core technology that enables that experience. And third, it's the the adoption path. I think of it as the business discovery adoption path. Sometimes we call it land and expand, though I don't think we should be calling it that in front of our customers because who wants to be colonized? So let's start with an associative collaborative user experience. So on the left you have traditional BI with this hierarchical drill down experience that users have to try to get to the piece of information they're looking for. So let's just say if I went to a conference and I ran into a sales rep and I wanted to find him again, but I can't remember his name. I just know that he sells fish in the Nordics. So in the old way, the way I would have to find him is I'd say, okay, the region is Scandinavia, and I'm drilling down into Sweden. He's selling fish, and then maybe I might find him. But with QlikView and the associative experience, I could go right into the sales rep list box and type in fish Nordics, and I would get all the sales reps who've sold fish in the Nordics. I can start anywhere, go anywhere. At all times I can see all the data that's associated as well as the data that's not associated with any selection I make. So this slide here is probably the most important one in this whole presentation when it comes to QlikView's uniqueness. So here we have a screenshot of the What's New in QlikView 11 demo app, which you can get to from our demo site. And it's showing sales data by customer. And what you see are three green selections: Nordic, 2011, and Q1. I've made 3 clicks in this application. My selections are highlighted in green. All the associated data is highlighted in white. So January, February, March are white because those are affiliated with Q1. And all of the other months are grayed out. The unassociated data, it's not gone, as would be the case with any other product out there. It's still here, it's just highlighted in gray, so I know it's not associated. Now here's where it gets interesting. I clicked on Nordics 2011 Q1. I can see here that John Gregg did not sell anything in the Nordics in Q1 of 2011. I didn't think to ask that, it wasn't in my mind up front, but there it is. I can see what didn't sell, who didn't sell in what particular region. It's this power of gray that is so compelling. This is really what enables that discovery. It enables people to ask those questions, to answer those unanticipated questions, and to follow their own stream of thought. I might look at this and say, oh, that's interesting. Let me drill down and see why. So here's a video I use to help people understand the ways you can ask questions in QlikView. You can enter terms into a search box and get neatly categorized results. You can choose multiple values from what we call list boxes. You can go into choose time periods from a calendar type view. And all the while as you're making these selections, all the data in the app is filtering around these selections. You can always see the green, white, and gray. With other products out there, when you update one object, one chart or graph, it doesn't necessarily update the others, and you certainly don't get to see the gray, the unassociated data. It's really the gray that brings out those questions that you may never have thought to ask. You can lasso sections of charts. You could click on a particular bar or scatter plot item and zoom right in. And you can always see what you've currently got selected. You can back up or clear it all out to start fresh. With QlikView, you've got multiple tabs. When you make selections on one tab, it goes across to all the other tabs. You can move sliders around to choose values. In our comparative analysis functionality, you can, as the user, choose particular groupings of items that you want to compare, and as you choose these, you see the graph update in real time with your selections. You can visualize the data in different ways. The point is that you can continue on. You can continue clicking, zooming, lassoing, any way you want to. So when you think about how people make decisions at work, it's not all about the data. Of course, the data is really important, and this is what BI has been about for decades, this quantitative, data-driven decision making. But when you think about it, we don't just sit alone at our laptops and make decisions. We talk to other people. And other people have opinions and questions, perspectives. We persuade each other. We go through the hierarchy to get sign off on our ideas. So it's very important that our software enable people to take advantage of that collaborative nature of decision making. The third input into decision making is place. You walk into a location, you have a thought, you want to test a hypothesis right then and there on location. So that's a third piece of this. But what I want to focus on right now is the people, the collaboration, and what QlikView offers in this area that makes it a collaborative experience. So when you think about music and how people make music, there are many ways that it happens, many forms of collaboration. If you think about a jazz band, where you've got people who come together and each of them is kind of going off on their own riff and somehow it works out. Or you have a more structured scenario where you've got one leader who's conducting and the choir is singing together to perform this piece of music. Or you might have a string quartet where there's no obvious leader, but each person has a prescribed role and together they make the music. Or, in the fourth scenario, each artist comes into the studio separately, lays down their own tracks, and the recording engineer pieces it all together to create that piece of music. So there are many different ways to make music together, and the same thing is true in the workplace when it comes to decision making. So with QlikView as a collaborative BI platform, we support a variety of things. We enable people to co-create business discovery apps. We enable people to communicate right there in the context of their decision making. And we enable them to explore together, taking that thing that's so great about QlikView, which is exploring the data, and enabling people to do that not just by themselves, but with other people. So let's dive into this. When we're talking about co-creation, we're talking about a number of things. We're talking about being able to build apps and just email that app to someone else. They can open it up and then use it. They can modify it, add to it. So there's this ability to create and share apps. You can create and share objects right there within a browser, and I'll show you that in a moment. People can modify apps together in real time using shared sessions. And we enable people to co-develop asynchronously using source control integration. And with the annotations capability in QlikView, people can discuss the app and its behavior and its progression right through its entire life cycle, there in context of the app. So a couple of examples of how this works in QlikView. So people can create and share objects, again, right inside the browser. We don't enable people to start new apps or to bring in new data sources via the browser yet, but we do enable people to, within an app, create objects and to share them. The user can create an object and choose who to share it with. The recipients can then include the object in their version of this app on the server. When we're talking about communication, we're talking about a few things. The ability to share analysis with bookmarks, to author in-context notes and comments, and also to present the analytic content to other people using productivity tools like PowerPoint. For example, bookmarks, right there in an app. You may be exploring it, you see a piece of insight, you want to share that, you can go ahead and create a bookmark, and then you can mail that bookmark as a link. The recipient clicks on it and comes into the app, and they see the selections that you had made. With annotations, users can communicate asynchronously, meaning not simultaneously. So associated with any object in your app, you can go ahead, create a note, include a snapshot, which is basically like a bookmark, but it's only good in the context of this discussion thread. And others can then comment. So this form of collaboration is for those asynchronous times when you need to collaborate. And then the third leg of this is exploring together. By this we mean the ability to find apps with a user-friendly portal interface. We completely revamped the access point in QlikView 11, and now it's a very friendly experience. We enable our customers to integrate QlikView with their enterprise portals, especially SharePoint. And finally, very, very special to QlikView is we enable people to explore QlikView live with others via shared sessions. The way this works is in an app, maybe I'm talking to you on the phone, talking about some decision we need to make. I click Share Session, generates a link. I send you that link. You click on it, put your name in there, and we're both in the same QlikView at the same time. We can both click around, and there are some fabulous emerging use cases for this. So that was an associative, collaborative user experience. The second piece of this picture, what makes QlikView unique, is the core technology. So let's dig into that a little bit. I think about QlikView's core technology as divided into two buckets. One bucket is the basics, the other bucket is the secret sauce. So when it comes to basics, there are three main points. First, that QlikView holds the data needed for analysis in memory. That gives the user a super fast user experience. Several years back, we described our differentiator as being in memory, but that's not really what makes us so special. And you can put any BI product in memory. The thing is, if it's a cube, it's still a cube in memory. You don't get that associative experience. Secondly, with QlikView, we compress the data down to 10% of its original size. Third, we optimize the power of the processor to form the calculations. So every time you make a click and QlikView needs to calculate the answer to your question, this is all happening very fast based on optimization of the processor. So those are the basics. Then we get into what I call the secret sauce, and there are two main points here. The first one is that when you extract the data from multiple sources, 2, 5, 10, however many sources you need to extract the data from, you bring it into QlikView, you set up the associations once, and they're forever maintained. So here we have a screenshot of the table view that one of our customers gave me. And here what you see is on the left-hand side, you see a couple of tables. There's the item master table and the sales table. These are connected by a key field called item num. You can see you create these connections throughout your app forever. Every time you click on anything in the data, you will always see the green, white, and gray. This is unique to QlikView. Nobody else enables this. And secondly, when I am clicking around, in essence, I'm issuing queries. And what QlikView is doing is on the fly. QlikView is calculating those aggregations. And this is really what is a core technology that enables that associative experience. There's another video I like to use to describe one of the effects of this. Think about all the data needed for analysis as being in a pool. Now, this isn't all your data because there's no way you need all your data to ask questions in a certain area. But let's just say you have all of the sales related data with customers and partners and everything you need to be able to really understand your sales, and all that data is in a pool. What happens with traditional BI is that you issue a query, you're taking your label and dipping it into the pool, and when you pull it out, that's all you have to work with. You've got another query, dip the label in, you've got another separate extract from that pool. They're not connected. But with QlikView, you always get the whole pool. That was a little bit about our core technology. Now for the third leg of the stool in terms of what makes QlikView unique, and that's the business discovery adoption path. Sometimes it looks like this. Someone who has a business need downloads QlikView from our website, installs it, uses it, starts to share files with others in the department. They buy some licenses, put a server in place. That organization, that department begins to gain some significant value from the software. And others hear about it, other departments start to adopt, and then IT is involved in deploying an enterprise solution. Now, to be perfectly clear, this is not what it always looks like. This was what it always looked like in the past. Today, we often engage with IT very early on, and make sure that we can satisfy their requirements for security and scalability, data governance, etc., before we end up discussing things with business communities. But a major point about this is that QlikView grows as the customer grows. That same app that began life as created by the personal edition way back when can go through many, many changes and iterations, very fast cycles, and grow into the same app that's used throughout the enterprise. QlikView grows as the customer grows. In contrast to traditional BI, where because there's no associative experience, there's none of that core technology that supports this, with traditional BI, it's a very long process of requirements gathering and then building a whole metadata layer and then building cubes, creating queries, writing reports. It takes forever. But with QlikView, it's a very fast cycle of first bringing up those first list boxes, first identifying the connections in the data, building apps, modifying them. And in QlikView land, apps are very much like living apps. They're not monolithic enterprise applications that you can't change. You can change QlikView apps on the fly anytime you need to add a new data source or modify the look and feel of a graph or something like that. QlikView enables business users to ask and answer streams of questions on their own and in teams of groups, and it also at the same time enables IT to secure and govern the environment, make sure that all the data's in good shape, and then put this platform in place so that business communities can go ahead and create their own analytics. So QlikView enables both agility and governance. This leadership has been reflected for the second year in a row in Gartner's Magic Quadrant for BI platforms. This is a source of pride for us. We're the only data discovery in Gartner's language vendor to make it into the Leaders Quadrant. Gartner called out the tremendous momentum that QlikTech enjoys. Gartner also reported that our customers in their interviews describe achieving strong business benefits from QlikView. We're also scored quite highly on ease of use, and one thing that Gartner has really lauded us on is increased global and enterprise adoption. So with that, to conclude, QlikView is a business discovery platform. It's about simplifying decisions for everyone, everywhere. And what makes QlikView unique is the sum of three things: an associative collaborative experience, the core technology, and the adoption path. And when all the data is brought in memory and associated, that's when BI becomes self-service. That's when users can make a click, tap on a list box, lasso a part of a bar chart or a map, and begin to ask and answer their own streams of questions. Donald Farmer put it this way: with traditional BI, you can get new answers to old questions. You've got a top 10 list of customers. Fine, a new customer might be on that list. That's a new answer. But what you get with QlikView in business discovery are new answers to new questions. When there's that gray, it makes you wonder why. And when you can see the associations in the data, you are enticed to click around and begin to explore and look for answers. So with that, I will wrap it up. You're welcome to reach out to me anytime with questions. And before I fully end it, what I want to do is point out where you can get more info. You should have these assets as part of this content pack that's up on Salesforce content, but you can find these assets individually as well. There's a white paper called What Makes QlikView Unique. There is a YouTube that's specifically about the music analogy. There's a whole content pack that contains the video clips, the PowerPoint, this recorded session, and more. I would urge you to check out the Sales Enablement Assets app, which you can get to from Access Point. And this app you can go into and search on anything and find all of the materials and assets that product marketing has created for you. So with that, I'll wrap it up, and happy selling.